Well, now, the crowning of Ayrton Senna in Inside Track.
F1 Grand Prix.
Inside Track is brought to you in association with Mobil 1 and Champion Spark Plugs.
Drivers' Championships decided in Japan as Nigel Mansell's challenge ends in a cloud of dust. Ayrton Senna becomes a three-time world champion, but not before allowing teammate Gerhard Berger through to win the 1991 Japanese Grand Prix, Berger's first ever win for McLaren. Max Mosley's first Grand Prix as the new president of FISA. And Satoru Nakajima's farewell appearance in Japan. Coming up on the official story of the FIA Formula One World Championship, Inside Track. Drive from Japan's third largest city, Nagoya. For much of the year, it's an amusement park with a hotel, shops, restaurants, all kinds of entertainment. But come October, the Suzuka circuit is synonymous with the Japanese Grand Prix. Formula One is not only big business here, it's showbiz, and the fans descend on the circuit in record numbers. Over 1 million applications for tickets were received by the organisers, with the entire allotment sold out 9 months in advance. Drivers are regarded by the public in much the same light as pop idols or movie stars. Nigel Mansell is one of the most popular drivers, while Satoru Nakajima is accorded legend status. He's scarcely able to move in public. Fans mob him in anticipation of a photo, an autograph, or just a mere glimpse of Japan's greatest ever racing driver. The exposure Grand Prix racing's granted on television is quite phenomenal. The host broadcaster and principal sponsor of the Japanese Grand Prix, Fuji Television, uses the latest and most modern equipment in the world. Formula One is an ideal vehicle for the development and training of men and machine, not only on the track, also in the mobile television production studios. The audience figures reflect the time, money and effort Fuji TV put into their coverage of Formula One.
F1 Grand Prix.
This year we have the audience increased by 100% since last year, and which is a very good result for us. And we had 20% of audience rate last year during the Japanese Grand Prix, which means was 23 million of people watching the TV. This year we hope just the 100% increased rate.
This was Sunday morning, just a few hours before the race. A record crowd, well into six figures expected, many dressed according to their allegiance. The banners and flags are testament to their devotion, no matter what their age. The weather warm and sunny, a perfect autumn day, a staggering change from earlier in the week when the skies opened up. This was mid-afternoon Thursday. The skies dark, the rain torrential at times, uncomfortable for the teams as they prepared for race weekend. Nigel Mansell needed to win both remaining races in Japan and Australia to stand any chance of catching Ayrton Senna for the title.
And then, I mean, welcome to sunny Japan. I mean, it's great, isn't it? Come here for your suntan. Jeepers. Nice, easy weekend. Plenty of relaxation. No football. No boxing. I'm not going to be a triathlon this weekend. I'm just going to drive cars nice and quiet.
Mansell hadn't always been in a position to challenge for the championship. At the start of the season, Senna and McLaren threatened to run away with the championship altogether. In fact, Mansell and the Williams team had difficulty getting started as the season opened round one in Phoenix. Senna on pole position, and he proceeded to dominate the race. The Williams of Nigel Mansell experiencing troubles with the new gearbox, and out he went. But for Senna, another masterful performance. The McLaren finally ran out, the Honda engine on his McLaren stopping with electrical problems. Out went the championship leader, and out too went Nigel Mansell. On the very last lap of the race, he dominated from the start. A certain 10 points out of the window. On to Mexico, round 6, and Senna loses it in practice on the notorious Peraltada corner. He hit the barrier and flipped over. A severe jolt, Senna thankfully unhurt. On race day, the champion and challenger put on a real show for the fans as they battled for the lead. But it was Riccardo Patrese who stole the show by beating both Mansell and Senna. A Williams won too, proving that now they had the superior package. In France, at the brand new Magny-Cours circuit, Ferrari staged a revival of sorts, but Mansell took the lead from Prost and stayed there. Senna was third and had plenty of work to keep ahead of Jean Alesi in the other Ferrari. Mansell went on to his first win of the season, the victory lifting him to second place in the Drivers' Championship with 23 points, 25 behind Senna, but more than half the schedule remained. Silverstone, round 8 was next, and Mansell sent the local fans home happy by winning in dominant style. Frank Williams had to be thinking that, yes, the championship was now a distinct possibility. Senna had run out of fuel on the last lap. He still managed to finish 4th. Mansell stopped to give him a lift. He was now only 18 points behind the championship leader and on a definite roll. Next stop, Hockenheim in Germany. Once again, Senna and McLaren experiencing problems with the computer that measures the amount of fuel in the tank. In the later stages of the race, Senna out again. Nigel Mansell recorded his 3rd straight win, and the 10 points closed the gap between him and Senna down to 8. The story of the championship was now Mansell. Senna was struggling. That all changed in Hungary. Senna took pole position, the place to be on a circuit where overtaking is so difficult. The battle for the lead going into the first corner proved to be the story of the race. Senna won the first corner, Mansell second, Patrese third, and that was the order until the checkered flag. Senna halted the Williams winning streak at 4, and in so doing increased his lead in the championship to 12 points over Mansell. On to Belgium, round 11. Mansell had a comfortable lead until gearbox troubles that had plagued him in the early part of the year reoccurred, and the Williams was out of the race. That left the way open for Senna, who, despite having gearbox troubles himself, demonstrated his expertise in any situation. The McLaren number 1 crossing the line to finish first, the 6th victory of the season for Senna. That win, coupled with Mansell's failure to score, saw Senna's lead extended to 22 points. 5 races to go. Monza, the next round, the 12th, the Italian Grand Prix. Once again, Senna and Mansell put on a spirited display for the fans. Mansell waiting for the moment to accelerate past Senna and into the lead. That was the story. Mansell didn't look back and won his 4th race of the season. But with Senna coming home second, Mansell only narrowed the gap between himself and Senna by 4 points to 18. 4 races left. Victory for Mansell in Italy was followed by complete disaster in Portugal 2 weeks later. The Williams number 5 leading comfortably, but then came the now infamous pit stop. Miscommunication between pit crew saw Mansell leave without the right rear wheel being securely attached. Stuck in the middle of the pit lane, Mansell could only wait until his crew refitted the wheel. Illegally as it turned out, Mansell eventually disqualified. His teammate Riccardo Patrese prevented Senna from taking 10 points, but a strong second nonetheless gave the Brazilian a commanding 24-point lead with 3 races to go. A week later in Spain, fortunes changed again. Senna spun on the slippery surface early in the race, nearly taking Mansell with him. In fact, Senna was lucky to get out of the gravel pit and back onto the circuit. Mansell, meanwhile, engaged Berger in a hard-charging battle for first place. Mansell only narrowly avoiding a collision. But Mansell won in Spain, and with 2 races left, his chances of overtaking Senna for the title were slim, but not impossible. After Spain, Senna had 85 points to Mansell's 69. The Brazilian had dominated the early part of the season, Mansell the middle, and both drivers had done equally well going down the stretch. But with only 2 races remaining, Mansell admitted he'd rather be leading than chasing Senna. One might have thought both men would be under pressure. Not according to Nigel.
No, I don't think there's any pressure on Ayrton, McLaren or us, really. I mean, I'll swap places now. Give me 16 points. We'll even swap cars if you like.
Still to come on Inside Track, a word with the new president of FISA, Max Mosley. Satoru Nakajima spends a busy weekend in this, his last Japanese Grand Prix. Bertrand Gachot reflects on his time in jail. And Friday qualifying, the battle for pole position. All coming up here on Screen Sport on Inside Track. (1987) and the Suzuka circuit hosts the first Japanese Grand Prix in over a decade. For Nigel Mansell, his championship challenge that season ended when he crashed heavily into a tyre barrier and he had to be taken to hospital with severe back injuries. On race day, Michele Alboretto's Ferrari stalled at the start, almost causing serious mayhem. Later, the championship leader, Nelson Piquet, was forced to retire when his Honda-powered Williams began spurting oil. Gerhard Berger went on to win the race, Ferrari's first win for over 2 years, prompting celebrations in the pit lane by the team's mechanics. Ayrton Senna pipped Stefan Johansson for second place on the very last lap. But on the podium, the man of the hour was Gerhard Berger, celebrating his second career win. The next year, Senna had joined McLaren. He was on pole but stalled at the start and was lucky to have enough momentum to bump start the car. The aspiring world champion had a lot to do to get back among the leaders. He forced his way through the pack. His teammate and championship challenger Alain Prost missed a gear coming down the straight. That allowed Ivan Capelli into first place, albeit briefly. Senna clawed his way to the front, catching, then overtaking Prost down the main straight. The Brazilian would go on to his 8th race win of the season and the World Championship. All that promise that he'd shown throughout his career had culminated in the ultimate prize, the World Formula One Drivers' Championship. Heading into the 1989 Japanese Grand Prix, Alain Prost led his teammate Senna by 16 points in the championship race. Senna had to win both remaining races in the 1989 calendar to have any chance of overtaking Prost for the title. But this incident saw Prost closing the door on Senna, and it appeared both drivers were out of the race, which would have made Prost the new world champion. The rivalry between these two great drivers had evolved into a feud, and this was a low point of the whole affair. Prost got up and out of his car, but Senna had no intention of giving up. He wanted to get clear of the escape road and back onto the track so he could return to the pits and replace that damaged nose section. First, though, he had to go around one full lap of the circuit to reach the entrance of the pit lane. A dejected Prost, meanwhile, walked back to the pits, pondering his future. Senna's pit crew worked feverishly to replace the nose section to enable the defending champion to return to the race. He did. Senna still in the hunt for first place. Alessandro Nannini in the Benetton Ford ahead at this stage. Senna reeled him in to take first place. The Brazilian never looked back. Senna understandably elated at having overcome every obstacle and finishing first, but his joy was short-lived. Senna was disqualified and Nannini declared the winner. Senna left to think of what might have been as Prost was crowned world champion. Last year, the Prost-Senna rivalry erupted once again, this time the Frenchman in a Ferrari, not a McLaren. Prost in the lead going into the first corner. Senna tried to force his way through on the inside, a collision, and both were out of the race. As the dust settled, it was Senna who benefited as he claimed the world title with the elimination of Prost. In the meantime, Nigel Mansell was leading the race in his Ferrari when he went into the pits. But on resuming, his engine blew and out went Mansell. So that left the Benetton duo of Nelson Piquet and Roberto Moreno, first and second. For Moreno, his best finish ever. An emotional moment for him and for his friend and fellow countryman, Nelson Piquet. Also on the podium, Aguri Suzuki, third in the LaRousse in front of his home crowd. But the two men of the hour, Piquet and Moreno for Benetton. There have been many changes in the year following Piquet's win. Roberto Moreno's no longer with the team, and Piquet's future in Formula One was in doubt following the signing of Martin Brundle to drive for the new-look Benetton team in 1992. Michael Schumacher had replaced Moreno, and he'd done very well since his arrival in Formula One from the Mercedes team in the World Sports Car Championship. In fact, Schumacher was joined in Japan by his Mercedes teammate Carl Wendlinger. He'd recently signed to drive for Leighton House for the last two races of the season, replacing Ivan Capelli, who had, as of yet, to confirm a drive for 1992, although rumours were suggesting a move to Scuderia Italia. Wendlinger had tested the Leighton House at Silverstone in England in the week prior to departing for Japan. But although he had some initial difficulty, the lanky Austrian was confident heading into the race.
You're much bigger than the average driver. It's difficult and very uncomfortable for you in the car?
It's not very uncomfortable, I would say, but there was a bit of a problem with the gear change. But the race car is a little bit wider in the monocoque. There's more space, and so here in Japan it shouldn't be any problem. I mean, it never will be comfortable for me to drive a race car, but it's okay, I think, and I fit quite well.
Bertrand Gachot was a surprise visitor to Japan on the Thursday. This after his release from prison in England only the day before. But now that one crisis was behind him, another loomed.
What about the future?
Well, my job is to drive Formula Ones. I think before what happened, we were driving good. I just had done the lap record in Hungary and everything was going well. I was 11th in the World Championship. So I believe it was very unfair to put me in jail, and certainly it was unjustified. So I hope that I can get to my place and better it.
Now, what is it going to take to get there in terms of contractual arrangements with Eddie Jordan?
Well, I have a contract with Eddie, and I just hope everything is all right. You know, I'm perfectly fit. I've been training a lot in prison, and I just hope I can get the car back and forget about the whole thing.
The new FISA president, Max Mosley, was also in Japan. He'd received widespread support from everyone in Formula One. But as he pointed out, Formula One is in good hands. He could concentrate on injecting new life into all the other forms of motorsport.
Well, I think the main thing is to make sure this is a top-level professional sport. We're talking about Formula One. And really the main function of FISA is to do everything from its side to match that level of professionalism. I think we've got to make sure that the entire FISA operation, which is really a refereeing operation, is at the same high professional standard that the teams operate to. Having said that, that's Formula One. The main work, for me at least, and the FISA generally, is outside Formula One and in the lesser formulae and with the countries where there is relatively little motorsport. Our job is to try and build motorsport up in those countries all over the world.
And the general state of motorsport across the world at this moment?
Well, it's extraordinarily healthy in that there are more and more people who want to do it, and more countries with a very high percentage of young people, people under the age of 20, with enormous interest in motorsport, but it's an interest that in many countries isn't yet fulfilled because they're unable to do it for economic reasons and so on. So we have to try and help them overcome that problem by finding cheap ways of getting started.
Perhaps the one man who is the recipient of most attention in Japan was Satoru Nakajima, the most experienced and successful Japanese driver of all time. He'd announced his retirement earlier in the year, so this would be his final Japanese Grand Prix. The demands on his time were enormous, but as usual, he handled it all with his customary charm and grace. Friday morning, pre-qualifying, 4 to go through from 6. Brabham and Footwork the favourites to make it. The Coloni was in new hands. Naoki Hattori from Japan in place of Pedro Chavez from Portugal. Hattori fared little better than Chavez had in his 14 attempts. Hattori, in fact, attempting just 3 laps before his day and his race finished in the sand. Gabriele Tarquini in the Fondmet number 14, retaining some of his Spanish form, and he managed to qualify 4th fastest out of the group. Number 9, Michele Alboreto in the Footwork. He was the 3rd quickest qualifier, but on this occasion, outclassed by his teammate, number 10, Alex Caffey. He was 2nd quickest, so a rare glimpse of him in a Grand Prix. He failed to qualify for any other race this season. The class of the field, number 7, Martin Brundle in the Brabham Yamaha. 1.1 second quicker than anyone else. Disappointment though for Brundle's teammate Mark Blundell. He missed out. He was a second off the pace. An oil leak had left him struggling for time to qualify, and the T-car setup just didn't suit him at all. Disappointing Japanese visit for Mark Blundell. Free practice Friday morning, and first problems for Pierluigi Martini. Bits of his Minardi littering the track and causing the red flag to come out. When the practice session resumed, Tarquini in the Fondmet had a heavy crash into the barriers, injuring his left leg. He was able to continue, but heavily strapped. Not as fortunate, Eric Bernard in the LaRousse Lola number 29. He had a huge accident. Bernard, who's had a disappointing season, colliding heavily with the barriers. This caused the end of the practice session and a lengthy delay as the medical teams took their time to get Bernard out of the car. Some concern about that left leg, and you can see why. The end of Bernard's season. Airlifted to hospital in the helicopter, but the doctors were assured that with suitable treatment all would soon be well.
He's broken his leg, his left leg, and he's gone off to the hospital now for x-ray and for stabilization. But his general condition is fine.
His prognosis for recovery?
Oh, I think excellent. I would expect him to recover normally and be fit by the beginning of next year.
Friday afternoon and qualifying about to begin. Nigel Mansell in relaxed mood. Ayrton Senna prowls the pits. Tension as Mansell set off to set a quick lap, 1:36.6, almost half a second quicker than the Ferrari of Jean Alesi. That was the initial mark that the rest had to beat. Gerhard Berger, candidate for provisional pole, but Ayrton Senna with his 1:36.536 going past Mansell and claiming a front row position. Mansell, in fact, 1:36.529, not quite proving enough, as Ayrton Senna and then Gerhard Berger both increased the pace. Berger 1:36.458, claiming the provisional pole position. Ayrton Senna as well went faster than Mansell to claim a front row slot, but less than 1/10 of a second was covering the top three. Ayrton Senna in particular thought he could go much quicker.
I had a big problem with the clutch in my qualifying run. Already in the morning I had some problem at the last lap I did in the morning. I told the mechanics, the engineers, they looked for it and they thought everything was okay, but of course it wasn't, and I had a big problem in my first run. Already at the first brake point I had no clutch working and I was caught up badly. So I was slow in the gear change down, and I was also over-revving the engine. And during the lap it really cost me a lot of time. I had a very good lap, the car was balanced, good grip, but on the gear change I was nowhere, and I even did some corner with the wrong gear, one gear up. So it was very frustrating.
Nigel Mansell wanted a place on the front row. When Friday's work was done, he was only third quickest, but reasonably satisfied.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm happy, because they've got qualifying engines. They've blown one engine up already today, and you know, basically what we qualify with, we race with, and so that's why I think in race condition we'll be in good shape. But you know, the thing is, here it's difficult to overtake, and there's not going to be any favours handed out to me on Sunday, so if we can get on the front row, I'd appreciate it.
We'll take a short break now. When we come back, a look at Saturday qualifying. That's here on Inside Track on Screen Sport. The Suzuka circuit, 3.6 miles round, tight and twisty, and very difficult for cars and drivers to get the right setup. Jean Alesi, Ferrari number 28, Saturday morning, free practice. 5th fastest in qualifying the previous day, 25th fastest in this session. Not surprisingly, after this little altercation with the tyre barrier, the car didn't handle too well. The crowd will watch anything to do with Formula One, particularly Ayrton Senna. In Saturday qualifying, the car was devoid of problems, the driver in stupendous form. Senna proving his prediction of the previous day was correct when he said the car would be quicker in the second session. 1:34.898, 1.5 seconds faster than the previous day. Mansell, for a brief time, held second place on the grid, but then Gerhard Berger, with a magnificent flying lap of 1:34.7, claimed pole position. The brilliant young German Michael Schumacher, in a rare spot of trouble, driving Piquet's race car, he clattered into a barrier. The red flag came out. In the fast corner just before the chicane, Schumacher losing control, bumping over the curbs, revolving across the track and reversing into the tyre barrier. Schumacher surprised and shocked, but aware and unhurt. Piquet's car now in revised format, and the resulting delay to the session, 18 minutes to clear up the debris.
Michael, are you okay after the shunt?
Everything okay.
Schumacher 9th on the grid, just ahead of his teammate Nelson Piquet, last year's winner. As far as Nigel Mansell was concerned, he had one more attempt to snatch pole position. 1:34.922 wasn't enough to beat the McLarens. It will be down to the race itself. Mansell starting from the second row with Senna ahead of him.
I mean, I had the perfect line of sight of what happened last year between Ayrton and Alan at the first corner, and as you know, I drove for Ferrari then, and I'm not going to certainly give him the opportunity to do the same sort of thing for me.
If I finish second place tomorrow, the championship will be over. If Mansell does not win, then it's almost certain that the championship will be over as well. So it's an open situation, but it's being slowly coming to our way, the championship, particularly the second half of the season, bit by bit, step by step, and let's hope that tomorrow is the last bit that we are missing for it.
So the sun began to set, marking the end of qualifying, but the beginning for the mechanics working hard on the cars, preparing them for the morning in race trim. Just outside the entrances to the circuit, race organisers were about to open the gates to the thousands of fans who'd been patiently waiting for 2 days. The competition for the best viewing areas in the general admission parts of the circuit meant a mad rush once the gates were open. Sunday morning warm-up, always vital as the teams have this half hour to check last-minute problems or to make final adjustments. Also important on Sunday morning, the drivers' briefing. It would take on added significance with the World Drivers' Championship on the line at Suzuka. And also because the new FISA president, Max Mosley, was officially presented to the drivers in his new capacity. He was warmly greeted. Much was made prior to the weekend of the war of words between Nigel Mansell and Ayrton Senna. The defending champion had both won and lost in Japan in controversial circumstances. Senna said he wouldn't back down if Mansell challenged him like he did in Spain and Portugal. Mansell countered by saying he'd no intention of changing his style. There was no war of words in this meeting, just calm professionalism. It was time to race. Ready to go at Suzuka. Defending world champion Ayrton Senna just a yard or two away from Nigel Mansell in the Williams Renault, of vital yards. Mansell starting from the second row. An all-McLaren front row with Gerhard Berger in pole position. Ayrton Senna in second, Mansell third. Away they go from the line. A great start by Patrese from the third row, but Mansell's made a good start too, but he's blocked by the two McLarens. It's Berger ahead into the first corner, followed by Senna, Mansell third, Patrese fourth. Then come the two Ferraris of Prost and Alesi. And for a change at Suzuka, everybody safely through the first corner of the Grand Prix. Gerhard Berger already opening out a considerable gap between himself and the rest of the field. The Austrian obviously detailed by the team to be the hare, set off into the distance, knowing that Nigel Mansell has to come first to stand any chance of lifting the World Drivers' title. Mansell at some stage will have to pursue Berger, no matter how far ahead he is. So it's Berger leading, Senna in second place, and Mansell third. Patrese still fourth, Prost fifth, Alesi sixth. Then comes the Minardi of Pierluigi Martini in seventh place. But the end there for the sixth place Ferrari of Jean Alesi. The engine blowing, huge cloud of smoke, and one of the possible challenges for top three position out of the race on the very first lap. Berger going well, Senna still holding off Mansell, and Patrese fourth, just ahead of Prost. There's Alesi and his problems in practice and his race coming to a premature close. Billowing smoke from the back of the Ferrari. Berger, one lap of the 53 completed. Way through that shimmering heat haze on the start and finish line. Gerhard Berger, who showed good form both Estoril and Barcelona before being forced to retire with engine problems. Forced to retire here, both Delaras, Pirro and JJ Leto, and the Jordan of Andrea de Cesaris, and the Leighton House of Carl Wendlinger. 4 cars out at that corner. This is how it happened. It's de Cesaris collecting Wendlinger. Wendlinger severely damaged, running into the side of JJ Leto.
What happened?
De Cesaris just made a mistake and he started to have some oversteering, and then he spun. And I tried to avoid him from the left-hand side, and Pirro hit me to the back. Then we just all went out, and then Wendlinger came in and just hit me on the side of the car as well, so it was a big mess. I mean, the whole team is out. It's unbelievable.
An incredible start then by Gerhard Berger. But behind, it's Senna still holding off Mansell, with the second Williams Renault of Riccardo Patrese running in 4th place. Quite a gap between this trio and the rest of the field. Further up ahead, Gerhard Berger driving a fantastic race. and exactly what team orders instructed him to do. Senna well aware that even if Mansell gets past him, he's still got an awful lot of work to do if he's going to catch Berger. Tactically, McLaren seem to have the race under control. Mansell, meanwhile, watching Senna get both right side wheels up the curving. Seemingly in the corners, able to get quite close to the McLaren. And on the straights, McLaren being able to hold Mansell at arm's length. Lap 10, and Mansell drifting wide, and all four wheels out of the circuit and onto the sandy gravel, and there's no way back from there. 10 laps completed at Suzuka, and the World Championship 1991 goes to Ayrton Senna. The end of Mansell's challenge in a cloud of Suzuka dust. Mansell disappointed, Frank Williams equally so. With a hop, skip and a jump, Mansell begins the long trek back to the Williams pit. Mechanics disappointed, distraught, but they still have a man left in, and that's Riccardo Patrese. This is how Mansell went out. The car experiencing brake problems and just drifting wide on that corner. Gradually, the whole of the car off the circuit into that sand and gravel, and the championship is here. Mansell, always a popular man with the Japanese crowd, even though on this occasion it's failed in his quest.
Nigel Mansell, what happened on that corner?
Basically, I went in deep. I was starting to feel my way with it, and I wasn't in real hurry. But in the warm-up this morning, I had a slight problem with the brake pedal, and I think it was a combination of just going into my deep braking point, and when I hit the pedal, I'm afraid the pedal was a little soft, and I didn't retard, I didn't slow down, which you could probably see on television. The car didn't slow down, and then I ran out of road then. It's as simple as that. I mean, we've given it a great go. The team's done a fabulous job. I'd like to congratulate Ayrton now on his third World Championship. Yeah, there's always next year, and we'll go to Australia and enjoy Australia.
The fans love you, Nigel.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I'm a bit disappointed today for the team, because at least I thought we would finish, and you know, it's just unfortunate that this has happened, but you know, it's not too bad. I mean, I'd like to say hello to my children. Don't worry, there's always next year, and live to fight another day.
Nigel Mansell then semi-confirming that he will be back with Williams Renault to mount another challenge against the McLarens. In the meantime, a private battle, Berger waving Senna through, so Berger playing the part of the number 2 right to the end of the 1991 season. Senna, already a 3 times world champion, on his way to a race victory at Suzuka, with his great friend and teammate Gerhard Berger in 2nd place. Commiserations shared between Frank Williams, Sheridan Thin and Nigel Mansell in the Williams pit. And more commiserations in order out on the track. Japan's great sporting hero, Satoru Nakajima, his last Japanese Grand Prix coming to an end against the tyre barrier. Tyrrell experiencing brake fade. Speculation that perhaps that was the last sight of Nakajima in a Grand Prix.
Nakajima, now you retire or you go to Australia?
Australia.
You for sure?
Yeah, of course.
So Nakajima will be in Adelaide, the site of his best ever result in the rain in 1989. This the battle out on the track for 5th, 6th and 7th. Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi, Michael Schumacher in the Benetton, Martin Brundle in the Brabham. Minardi through, and the Brabham up to 6th place in a point as Michael Schumacher in the Benetton parks against the wall. So the engine giving up there at the Benetton, and here on the Minardi, Pierluigi Martini going out too, and that's promoted Martin Brundle in the Brabham Yamaha up into 5th place. So on course for 2 very valuable points, Martin Brundle. And even though he won't be driving for the team in 1992, points crucial because it means that almost certainly Brabham will not have to pre-qualify in the first half of the season. McLaren team boss Ron Dennis permitting himself a rare, wry smile of satisfaction. Senna leads, Berger is in 2nd place, the Drivers' Championship is in the bag, and they're right on course for the Constructors' title too. Ayrton Senna, 3 times world champion now, following in famous footsteps of Piquet, Prost, Lauda, Brabham, Stewart, and of course the great Juan Manuel Fangio. Senna, who drove tactically exactly the right sort of race at Suzuka, letting his man Berger go way out in front while he controlled Mansell from 2nd place. Once Mansell had gone out, then Senna speeded up and was on course for a brilliant victory. Waiting for their men to come home, 1st and 2nd. Into the chicane before the start and finish line for the last time. Berger right up on Senna's tail, and Senna moving across and letting his teammate number 2, Gerhard Berger, his first win for McLaren in 31 races. Delight for Berger, an acknowledgement of that great gesture by Senna from him and from team boss Ron Dennis. So Ayrton Senna finally secures the World Championship after his season-long battle with Nigel Mansell, the Englishman, the first to congratulate him. On the podium, Senna, happy to share the spotlight with race winner Gerhard Berger. A memorable day for both. Berger's first win for McLaren, Senna's 3rd world title.
It's been exciting one for me. I won here in '88. Was memorable too. '89 I was robbed badly by the system, and that I will never forget. But 1990 it went the other way. It was a sad championship in 1990, but it was a result of the '89 championship and a result of the politics that we had in 1990 and '89. Then '91, fortunately, we were able to have a clean championship without politicians, without people playing any game. It was a technical and a sportive championship that we had this year. And I hope it will be an example, not only for myself, but for everyone that's competing Formula 1 now and in the coming future.
Confirmation of the result, Berger the winner, Senna 2nd, Patrese 3rd, Alain Prost 4th, Martin Brundle with Brabham Yamaha's best ever finish in 5th. Stefano Modena 6th in the Tyrrell. But for Berger, quite a battle with Senna once Mansell was out.
We was just going flat out all the way, but suddenly I get a big noise in the engine power was completely down, and I thought, that's it. I was already so disappointed in the car because I saw no way to get until the finish. But then the temperature, everything went right, and I just shift very early gears, and I just was braking a little bit on the straight, not to get too high revs, to manage to go through on the engine. And then in the end, I have to say thank you to Ayrton. We switched over place, and I think it's very nice to know, because a lot of times I was in a situation where I had to take care, or where I was in the difficult part of the game, and it's very nice to know that if it's the other way around, it comes also from the teammate, so it will be no problem at all for the future. If you know both sides are working the same, then I think it will be good for the next year too.
A look at the driver's standings underlines Senna's insurmountable and ultimately decisive lead over Mansell. But after the race, Senna had some startling revelations about not only this race, this championship season, but the ones that preceded it.
Everyone was making out the first corner. What's going to happen in the first corner? What's going to happen in the first corner? Nothing happened in the first corner.
Absolutely. Of course, everyone was asking those questions because of the past 2 years. Past 2 years we were '89 with a disgraceful end, when I won the race, and I missed one victory in my career. That 89 I won, and I was taken away. I was prevented to go to the podium when I was just about to go into it by Balestre, and I never forget that. And a result of that was the 99 championship, when we fought all the way, myself and Prost, and we came to the last race, and pole position was set in the wrong place. We agreed before starting qualifying that pole position would be on the outside with the officials. Then Balestre gave the order after qualifying to not change, and I was found myself in the wrong side on pole. I was so frustrated that I promised to myself that if after the start I lose the first place, I would go for it in the first corner. Regardless of the result, I would go for it, and Prost wouldn't turn in the first corner ahead of me. And that's what took place. And that was a result of the politicians making stupid decisions and bad decisions. Now, this year, what happened? We fought all the way, myself, Nigel, Ricardo, and we got to the end, was only myself and Mansell. We had a hard time. The last two races, I think Mansell pushed a little over the limit, but I was able to compensate for it and avoid incidents and a bad fine for the championship. And in this race, I was prepared to do my very best to fight for it. I was going to drive hard, but I was going to still try to avoid any incidents, but I needed the help from Nigel. First corner, everything was under control. Nobody tried anything silly. Nigel was working properly, was not going crazy. Nothing happened. It was a good race, was a competitive race. I fought with Gerhard later. Then we were fighting each other all the time. It was a great race. It was exciting for everyone. And as I said, I hope this will stand as an example for me, for myself, for everyone that's competing now and the people that are coming in the future.
Still to be decided, the Constructors' Championship. The 1-2 of Berger and Senna in Japan re-established McLaren's lead over Williams. But Riccardo Patrese third place, a valuable finish, reflecting the standards of excellence the veteran enjoyed in 1991.
So, congratulations to them, to Ayrton, to Gerhard for this victory. And we still have the Constructors' Championship open, so we will see in 15 days' time if we can have a revenge with them. About my personal season, I'm quite satisfied. I think it's my best season so far I had in Formula One. I had some bad luck in some races, but anyway, I'm lying third in the championship with 2 wins and good results in qualifying. I am satisfied with my season, but I'm already looking forward for next season because I want to have something more maybe next year.
And so, after 9 long months, the sun has almost set on the Formula One season. But there's still one more race to go. That's in Australia and the city of Adelaide. The country, one of the favourite stops on the Grand Prix calendar. The street circuit, widely regarded as the best of its kind in the world. It's certain to be a great season finale. See you then.